So I have a Volvo. It's a 2007 S80 with the 3.2 liter straight six transverse engine. It started making noise on the right hand side. It was a knocking noise. Of course I suspected the worst, transmission. And it seemed to be dominant or more prominent when it was in reverse. So I popped the hood and I was going to look around and see what's on this side of the engine, because I noticed that, I know that, the bell housing is on this side, and, because I'm thinking transmission and whatnot, and I believe it's the torsion strut. Here, let me zoom in here, and what you can see is we have some debris down here. And then this is like all cracked up here. I don't want to flood it with light. Let me zoom in the side here and show it to you. So as you can see, the rubber mountings around the strut is pretty much destroyed, gone, rotted away, worn out, dry rotted, and I don't know. Anyway, so that's actually a good thing. That beats the heck out of a transmission. So actually the sound is more prominent inside the vehicle than it is out here, but it's definitely humming and rattling. Alright, so I'm going to try and record the sound from inside the cabin here in the car, because it seems to be more prominent inside the cabin than actually recording the sound underneath the hood. So here we go. Yeah, that was smooth. The starter didn't really make a lot of noise. Put it in reverse. And there it is. I can hear it. Like I said, I don't know why reverse is noisier than drive. It just may be because of the forces, the torque forces, when the car is trying to move in that direction. And it also clunks a lot too. Let's see, you can see my hand moving a little bit. I'm holding the camera, but I'm braced. So let me put it in reverse and show you. See how it jumped? That really wasn't my free-handed camera. It was the entire car jolting back and forth. So hopefully it's a nice, clean, easy fix. It's right on top. I will put the car on ramps, or I'll lift it. I have some quick jacks. I'll lift it up and inspect the all of the engine mounts. But right now I'm going to just replace the torque bar, and I will inspect the engine mount that's underneath the torque bar, which I'll show you. Well, as you can see, the torque strut is an integral part of holding the top of the engine. And we have this very large plate here that goes to a mount underneath here, and then the torque strut is attached to that. So we have like a arm on top of this big huge brace. It looks like this bolt comes out here to hold the back, and then we have a nut and bolt arrangement in the back, and it looks like the coolant reservoir is going to have to come out of the way to give this bolt here some clearance. Yeah, this thing is definitely shot. Here's a view from the other side. There's just a little piece hanging on right here. It's all, dry rotted, destroyed, I guess, from the heat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the torque rod off, and I'll have to remove this bracket because there's also a rubber mount underneath, the actual engine mount. And then there's also some on the bottom, which I'm actually not too worried about. I think this is just from heat. So anyway, I will lift it up after I do this repair, make sure that the bottom ones, inspect the bottom engine mounts, especially on the right side here. So, oh gosh, yeah, look at that. Oh man, let me zoom out. Yeah, watch this. I bet you it's not supposed to do that. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is get the reservoir out of the way. So I have one screw in the back here. Then I need to release it from this mounting post. And that should be enough to wiggle it out. Now I could disconnect the lines here, but I'm opting not to. So let's see if I have a wire here. Hang on, there's a wire right here. Let me get that out. All right, let's try this again. I got the wire free. See if it comes out without too much struggle. And it does. So I have a big coolant hose underneath here, and that wire went to, I guess, the low coolant level. Float. So let's see, I think I'm going to go ahead and release the two lines and unplug the wiring to the low coolant level warning, just to give me free access to these bolts. Alright, the plug looks pretty straightforward. Just press it on the bottom, pull it off. It was literally that easy. These lines, you just squeeze the ends and to release the clips and just kind of work it out. Alright, of course I'm in the light here. There we go, there's one. And fun, fun, fun. I don't want to break them. Alright, let's see what we got going on here. Poor lighting, that's what we have going on. Alright, and now it's free except for the coolant hose down at the bottom here, which I'm going to leave alone. It's enough, I moved it out of the way enough where I can get this bolt out and then the back bolts out. Alright, so these lines are dripping out when they get anywhere near engine height. I guess if it gets below the reservoir. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some earplugs. And I actually had to cut it in two because the hole is so small. So I have one earplug cut in two, squish it down, and stuff it in here. And I actually had to use my pick on the other one to get it all the way in there. So, but you get the idea. Alright, so the top one here is going to go to the outboard, and the one that goes down into the engine, into the actually the top of the radiator, goes on the inboard side. So for your future reference, and mine. Alright, let's see how tight this bolt is here. I got my breaker bar and I broke it loose. Not too bad. I used a 15mm socket. Alright, now I get to remove this bolt right here. There's no need to hold the nut on the other side. It's welded to this plate. Am I in camera here? Yeah. So I just need to undo this bolt. So I'll move my reservoir out of the way here and get 15mm on it and go to town. Alright. Alright, short bolt in the back and long bolt in the front. And it should be free. Yes it is, it's free. And we have a nice little torque limiter right here. And we have our totally destroyed piece in the back there. So anyway, go ahead and replace that. But before I do, clean out all this rubber debris here. This bolt goes to an engine mount. It's just it's an enclosed rubber pot, if you will. And I'm going to go ahead and remove all 4 of these bolts and check to see how that is. Well, guess what I decided to do? I don't have the engine supported on the bottom, and I don't feel like jacking it up and doing all that. So I'm just going to replace the obvious piece, and if it still rattles and rolls and hums, then I'll rework it. But I'm really thinking that just replacing the torsion arm there will do the trick. So that's what I'm going to do. Alright, new parts arrived. Alright, so it's not solid, it still flexes in one direction, not another. It doesn't twist. So anyway, that's a lot better than the part that broke, which just kind of fell apart. Alright, it's pretty straightforward, you know. There's just goes in here nice and easy. There's a long bolt and a short bolt. You can't mix them up. So I just don't think there's any particular order. Also, this one looks like it can be placed in 2 spots. But this one originally from the factory was in the top spot, so I'm going to put it back there. Not only that, but there's no nut to screw it into on the other side, and this nut over here is welded to the bracket, so there's none of that, not even a possibility of putting it in incorrectly. So let me get my handy dandy tool here. And I will tighten that down. And now that I have it on, I'm going to take it back off because I forgot to put my reservoir in place. I don't want to disconnect the hose and have coolant run all over the place, so let me just take this off again. Sorry about that. go. Of course, I had to make it more difficult. I couldn't do it real easy, right? Get it good and tight here again. Metal to metal. And this guy, he just slips in here like this. Ow. And there's a little 8mm anchor bolt in the back. And I'm just going to get it snug here. Alright, connect my two lines. Remember, I put my earplugs in here. So this line has a little clip on it. Goes to the fuel rail. And remember, you can use a digital camera to take pictures of what went where, but this top one goes outboard. And this one here, I don't remember pulling it through power steering reservoir, but I'm going to do that. Just go around, just clicks on. Like that. Then I'm going to top off because I did lose some coolant when I took these off before I plugged them up. I'll just top it off with some water. And a little trick I learned was to get a high-powered flashlight and stick it in there and illuminate the reservoir, and then you can look down there and see if it's near the max line, between the min and the max. So I did forget one thing. It said coolant level low, so I need to plug in the coolant level sensor, because without current it doesn't work. There we go. And remember, this wire was hooked up on a little clip right here, and we're good to go. Well, at least on this car, the max line is right there where the black top meets the semi-transparent reservoir. So I have that much more to fill in. Alright, in case you didn't know it, these reservoirs are complex systems. It isn't just an empty bucket. So, but anyway, this is like most European vehicles. Well, Volvo's Chinese now, but they're a pressurized system, where some American cars are still open to atmosphere.